Hello and welcome to the Audio Dad Chronicles. I'm Shale, and today we're going to continue our journey into the collaboration between Mike Patton of Faith No More and the Avett brothers with Avett Patton, Dark Night of My Soul. And today we will be checking out the version live from CBS Saturday Morning. So I was really intrigued by my first listen of the Avett Patton collaboration that I had to hear some more. I'm a big fan of Mike Patton, and I've seen him live a few times in different iterations of bands and solo projects, side projects, things like that. And I wanted to dive more into this because this is a bit of a journey into the country side of his soul. And I thought, well, why don't we continue this? I'm really kind of digging it. It's something different from him. It's something he's definitely very passionate about. He's been performing live in and around different environments. And so I thought, well, why don't we check out a live one this time? So we're going to check out Dark Night of My Soul, Avett Patton, live from CBS Saturday Morning. So let's just jump right into this.
I suspect there's nothing left of what I always said would always be there. Would always be there. I've been saying it ever since I was young. I've been borrowing it. Borrowing it. Is this the dead end of the road? Is this the bottom of a hole? Is this the dark night of my soul? Is this the dark night of my soul? Is this the dark night of my soul?
Very cool to see right off the hop that Mike Patton is staying true to how he often works in a little more of a stripped down, non-Faith No More environment, where he's got percussion, a keyboard, a variety of noise-making type products, probably effects on his vocal. It's very clearly affected, and I'm willing to bet that he is probably fully in control of that himself, somewhere in and amongst all of his equipment, and I don't know if we'll get a view of that. The view, in fact, we have on screen right now is looking across the keyboard player over at the drummer. That octapad there, that is it's a digital drum pad that can have any sounds it wants loaded into it. So he could be using that for some variety of percussion effects. He could be using it to trigger a sample or something. Time may tell on that. Quite oftentimes when setting up things for live performances of a band in a TV studio type of a thing, the artist will typically set up their usual stage rig, even if they don't necessarily need certain parts of it. So he may or may not even be using that octapad. Time will tell on that. But and we may not even be able to see it because there's a lot of other musicians in the way, so to speak, visually. But I have myself actually set up equipment for artists who are performing live on TV and using their gear, knowing that you don't actually use this thing in this song. Why am I bothering to put it there? It's the comfort factor. They want the instruments around them that they're used to seeing in the places that they are. Like a drummer, he's not going to just take off a floor tom or a rack tom because that particular song he's not using it. He just wants the kit the way he wants it. So I don't know if the octapad will get used or not, because, like I say, there is a lot of percussion going on with Mike Patton. He's doing some himself. Drummer's doing some stuff. We did hear the keyboard player playing some instruments, but I also saw Mike Patton kind of hitting some things and bringing his hand down. But either way, it's really cool to see Mike still using those vocal effects, and like I say, likely triggering himself, very much in control of his sound, and his sound is always very creative. He's very creative with his voice. He's done all kinds kinds of things over the years where he's quite literally done entire albums with nothing but his voice and his body, you know, hitting himself and making percussion effects and such. So him diving into a world of a country style artist like the Avett Brothers, that's really interesting. And let's let this see where it goes from here, shall we? Definitely hear a vocal effect on that.
The way I'm feeling, I've been taking time to get well all along, but parts of me aren't healing. Aren't healing. Is this the dead end of the road? Is this the bottom of a hole? Is this the dark night of my soul? Is this the dark night of my soul? Is this the dark night of my
Wow, what power coming from him. You see how far back he was from that microphone, but you could still hear him cutting through. And I don't know if it was intentionally what he was after or what, but Mike Patton, of course, is capable of a very clean and clear and nice sounding voice, very full and deep. He can hit all kinds of low notes and high notes. But pairing up with the Avett Brothers here, who also have very nice voices. These guys sound really, really good. I don't know their music at all. I might have to dive into some of their own solo work on their own. I would be curious to hear what they sound like without the additional musicianship and artistry that he's going to introduce into a collaboration. How different this is, or is it really kind of Mike Patton joining them? I don't really have a frame of reference for that just yet, so I might need to dive into some of their music. Throw a suggestion for me, would you, if you're a fan of the Avett Brothers and you know what I should listen to showcase them. Like, this is them. This is what they're really about. I'd like to hear that. But it is interesting to me that being that he's joining two other male singers in a collaborative effort, where he's letting them have their voice and maybe their vocals are within similar range, because that's just naturally where they want to sit. So I almost think he's using these vocal effects and like distortions and such that he's got really layered into there to give a separation, just to make him sound a bit different from them. To let them stand in their vocal range with, you know, their harmonies, and he's just going for this little different effect, this darkness, this distortion, because these lyrics definitely have a dark vibe to them. I mean, Dark Night of the Soul, it's kind of right there in the title, I dare say. But he's lending that darkness, that underbelly into it, where it's not pretty and it's not clean and clear. But as he backs away from the mic, the distortion effect is less prominent, so you can almost hear his voice. It may even be being picked up by other microphones because Mike's voice really does project. So very cool to see that dynamic going on between them. Speaking of,
I'm seeing now, I can't believe just how naive I was to try it.
quick little pause there, don't want to interrupt his singing there, although I definitely do hear quite the similarity and again the vocal tone of this gentleman here. I'm sorry I did not look up their names in advance. I intended to do that and I do apologize. So we're just going to refer to him as the guy in the hat, the one on the left. Again, apologies there. I did not have the opportunity to research this one up front. I just kind of dove right into it because I really wanted to hear it. But either way, like I say, I definitely hear a similarity in vocal range and tonality to Mike Patton. So that might lend itself to why Mike Mike chose to use a lot of these effects, to say nothing about the fact that it is just kind of his thing. He's certainly in a solo environment, like with artists like Fantomas, where he's got a very similar setup to this with vocal effects. I've seen him use that microphone he had just held. That's why I paused it here. I wanted to briefly mention that. And again, it's just a microphone, but it just gives a different tonality. It might be fed through different effects, so he's trying to not have that distortion. He might want a different effect, maybe just a little more lo-fi, being from that kind of that CB radio vibe. And it even had a button on it that I could see him pushing, and that would most likely be actually activating the mic and not. And he could use that button to create almost a delay effect where he's taking in and out his voice. Very, very cool artistry. But speaking of artistry, we're stepping all over the Avett brothers here, and that's kind of rude. So let's stop at that right now and let it play out.
Can't believe just how naive I was to try it. I was to try it. I used to say that beauty was everything, but now I just don't buy it. I just don't buy it. Is this the dead end of the road? Is this the bottom of a hole? Is this the dark night of my soul? Is this the dark night of my soul? Is this the dark night of my soul? Is this the dark night of
Man, you could almost close your eyes and not even realize that those two are switching back and forth on the lyrics like that. Their voices are very similar. That in itself makes me wonder if that was a big part of why Mike Patton wanted to work with them, where it's almost like it's this other guy that sounds not like me, but very similar to me, that can hold these notes and capture these feelings in a very similar way to me, but at the same time being completely different and coming from a different perspective and a different writing perspective. I wonder if songs like this are an indication of why he wanted to work with them, because again, I don't know their music at all. Are they known for having some darker themes? Are they more of an upbeat kind of a band? What's their background? What's their sounds? Clearly there's a bit of a country vibe to them, and certainly with the orchestration they got behind them with cello and keyboards and the drummer playing very toned down, not aggressive at all, definitely lends to that country-esque vibe that's just shaken up a bit by the introduction of somebody like Mike Patton. Very, very cool. I'm definitely really liking this so far, and I kind of want to dive into the lyrics a little bit more on their whole, where I can just kind of read over them and kind of take it all in, because I've been picking out lines along the way, and I'm like, damn, there's some really cool lyrics going on in here. Mike Patton, at least I know, has always been a phenomenal lyricist. Big fan of his writing. Right at the end here, there was some almost theremin-like sound effects. This long, drony, woo kind of a note. And I know that Mike Patton was playing that. There was a brief moment, I was going to pause it, but I just didn't, where we could just very quickly see some of his equipment, and I almost felt like just pausing it and going, what is that? What do you got there? And one item that I think I spotted was, it looked like a Chaos Pad. It's a square touch screen type of a thing. It may not have been a Chaos Pad, but it looked like a similar idea or similar concept, and where it's a processor for sound, whether it's feeding through vocals or sound effects triggered by other things he's got going on there. And basically it's a touchpad, and you can manipulate effects or tones, you can make synthesizer sounds, and he may have been using that to make that theremin-like effect, because it does have this fluidity to it where there's no set tonal center. You can go between notes and basically play it by ear. So you can hit a spot on it, and if you're trying to follow a pitch of a singer, you just move your finger around a little bit and find the note that you're after. But anyways, I think that's what he was using there right at the very finale, and then of course finished it off by just pushing another button, which I bet just silenced everything, just made it quiet, just to let the final notes of the song ring out. And that was a beautiful song. I really dug that. Had a bit of a somber vibe. I mean, what do you expect when something is called Dark Night of Your Soul? You know, you're going to be getting a bit of a somber, I don't want to call it morbid, but a somber, darker kind of a theme. And I think the musicianship and the Avett brothers, and they all kind of brought this together to really do the song justice, do the lyrics justice. I can't wait to dive into a little bit more of the lyrics themselves. I definitely want to sit aside and kind of give them a read. I know some reactors like to research the song, research the lyrics, read them all up front. I am more of the, I want to go in blind. What am I getting myself into? I don't want to have any preconceived notions about what it is. Now, it does leave me with some questions, but of course it opens the door for me to listen to more. And I definitely want to listen to more Avett Brothers. I definitely want to hear more of their music on their own. So I'd love to have some suggestions of what song I should listen to from them. If there's other songs in this collaboration that you're a fan of, do let me know in the comments. I definitely would be interested in checking more of this collab out, being such a huge fan of Faith No More. In case you hadn't seen my other videos, I'm pretty sure I mentioned it in it, but either way, massive fan of Faith No More. I haven't seen them many times over the years. I have a tattoo from artwork of one of their earlier albums, The Real Thing, on the back of one of my legs. Like I say, big fan of Mike Patton. Seen them, the Fantomas, live on their first ever tour, and he had a similar rig to this where it was just a bunch of noisemakers, because in that project he doesn't sing. He uses his voice as an instrument, and it hits definitely one of those sides of his personality, just like this collaboration was. So this was really cool. Really glad I took the time to watch another song, because that first taste just wasn't enough. I needed more of it. And I think I need more of the Avett Brothers. What do you think? Should I check out some more? Give me some suggestions. And until then, thanks a lot for coming along on the ride, and I hope to see you all again.